The portal doesn't open in haste, only with truth and silence.
This talk was confidential. It wasn't meant for the general public. No recordings were made. Only a few students were present, those who, according to Cayce, were already on the brink of a deeper understanding. And now, after all these years, we're opening that door. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, gathered them in a windowless room filled with the scent of lavender and myrrh. These fragrances, he explained, purify the mind and prepare the soul for truth. You are not just listeners, he warned. You are travelers, pilgrims about to embark on a journey not across the earth, but to other realms. Stay with us until the end, because we'll bring together the key lessons from this transformative talk that could change how you see life and what comes after. Cayce wasn't impressed by spotlights. He preferred the quiet corners of Kentucky, where he made a living photographing weddings until his voice mysteriously failed. That involuntary silence led him into trances that gradually revealed medical diagnoses, life advice, and glimpses of the afterlife. No fancy robes, just a cotton shirt, a worn vest, and a humble look. The greatness was in the messages, and in the calm way he said that every thought is a seed that blooms in an invisible world. When he called that select group, he asked them to come with light hearts. Lit candles cast soft shadows on the wooden floor. The door we're about to cross was built by you, he said. Every memory, every intention will turn into stone or dust on the path. Imagine realizing that the shiver of guilt you sometimes feel is actually a rehearsal for the first corridor the soul walks through after the last heartbeat. His words were simple, but the room buzzed as if invisible gears were turning just behind the walls. He began by describing what he called the memory mirror. When the body is left behind, consciousness faces projections of its own choices, like a 360-degree film. Forgotten hugs, spoken ironies, spontaneous acts of kindness. Nothing staged, everything felt. There is no judge but your own essence, he explained. The mirror doesn't punish, it merely reflects. If this sounds theoretical, remember that time you recalled a kind act you received decades ago. And for a moment, your chest filled with warmth. That warmth, Cayce said, builds the homes on the other side. To prepare, Cayce taught a daily closing ritual. Before sleeping, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, and replay the day like rewinding an old tape. Where patience lacked, mentally ask for forgiveness. Where affection was given, offer yourself gratitude. Repeat names silently, sending amber-colored light. This exercise, he assured, seals open points in your energy field, stopping them from becoming harder trials later. 7 nights in a row is enough to notice better sleep. And, as a bonus, clearer mind upon waking. He also talked about the power of unspoken words. Recurring thoughts, even when silent, vibrate like bells ringing in an empty cathedral. They're the ones that, at the threshold of death, grow huge and create scenes. Anger turns into a maze of narrow walls. Empathy, an open field with scented breeze. To check your own inventory, jot down every repeating thought for a whole day. Then turn criticism into questions, fear into planning, complaint into appreciation. This small shift balances your nervous and spiritual systems. A big part of the prep, he stressed, involves caring for the body. Simple food, regular sleep, daily walks in gentle sunlight, recommendations that sound like grandma's old prescriptions. But modern studies confirm a balanced gut means a stable mind. A stable mind eases noble emotions. When the soul leaves the body, it carries a magnetic imprint of the dominant physical state. If we inflame our blood with stress, we hand over a rigid mold to the subtle plane, hard to reshape. So choosing fresh fruits and colorful veggies becomes a hygiene act reaching beyond the visible. Cayce criticized the idea of totally renouncing ordinary life. Work is an alchemical crucible, he said. Sweeping floors, answering calls, comforting a friend via message, they all become raw materials to polish patience, gratitude, and courage. He asked that each task be turned into a mini meditation. Feel the broom's texture, the phone's temperature, the vibration of another's voice. Those who convert micro-routines into conscious service earn vibrational credits that light up tunnels in the afterlife. At one point, he handed out small bottles of myrrh oil. Apply to your forehead before sleeping for 9 nights, he instructed. The resinous scent isn't just perfume. It acts as an olfactory reminder that the body sleeps, but the soul stays alert. Sensory associations, he explained, help the mind recognize the transition when it truly happens, avoiding initial panic and confusion. Forgiveness was an inevitable topic. Cayce told about Alice, a woman who held a grudge against her own sister for over 10 years. In his vision, when she passed, this anger materialized as a thick fog that kept her from seeing luminous guides. After a long prayer of pleading, the fog lifted. The lesson: forgiving in life saves time and energy on the other side. To practice, picture the person in blue-silver light. Inhale, counting to 4, exhale to 8, repeating mentally, "We are free." Keep going until your chest feels lighter. Want an immediate measure? Notice synchronicities. As your inner field clears, coincidences multiply. A message arrives at the right moment, a song plays with the perfect lyric, a chance meeting solves an old problem. Write these down in a simple notebook. This journal not only tracks progress, but inspires readers. If you want, share your most striking experience of the week in the comments. Your story might open the eyes of someone still doubting the link between thought and reality. Before closing the first part, Cayce paused long, almost dramatically. He looked into every face, as if seeing beyond the skin. "Death is not an end. It's a report card," he murmured. "Every grade is given by the student." He wasn't talking about distant heavens or fiery hells, but landscapes shaped by ourselves. Choose vivid colors, he advised, using a painter's metaphor. Start today, because the canvas is in progress. If some spark has lit inside you, choose right now a simple act of kindness. Hold the elevator door, praise a colleague's effort, send a thank you message to someone who lent a shoulder on a tough day. Little acts like these lay bricks of light on the bridge we all will cross. Leave a comment saying what action you'll take. That way you make a public promise to yourself and inspire those who come after. And if you want to get the next part of these revelations, hit subscribe. Besides helping the channel reach more seekers, it makes sure you don't miss the next techniques that will make the invisible even more tangible. Take a deep breath, feel the air running down your spine, and notice this. The very second your consciousness turns inward with honesty, the journey has already begun. In the next part, we'll dive into the practices Cayce considered essential for those who want to cross the veils with serenity and purpose. Moving forward means accepting that everyday life, as ordinary as it looks, already holds the keys to the great test. Cayce started the second half of that confidential talk by asking each participant to form a circle between thumb and forefinger. "You've just created a symbolic portal," he explained, "and it's through tiny circles that the biggest transformations slip inside the world." The gesture reminded that even in a windowless room, portals appear where intention closes in a perfect loop. The first practical step is training the body to respond to the mind and the mind to obey the spirit, in a chain flipped from usual human habits. To start, he taught the rhythm of 3 conscious breaths. Inhale while counting to 5, hold for 2, exhale for 7, then rest in emptiness for 2. Cardiologists today call this heart coherence. Science confirms it lowers blood pressure, releases nitric oxide, and synchronizes nervous and endocrine systems. Cayce just said, "When the heart becomes a metronome of peace, the soul recognizes the melody when it leaves." Next came the silent observer. Sit with a straight back and half-closed eyes. Let thoughts come like actors entering and leaving a stage without grabbing any. When a critical thought pops up, what a waste of time. Acknowledge it and let it go. This exercise strengthens the invisible muscle that will choose which ideas become walls in the afterlife and which dissolve like mist in the sun. Between practices, Cayce proposed the habit triad. Each student would pick one physical, one emotional, and one mental habit to purify over 40 days. Fix posture, swap complaint for gratitude, and study 10 minutes of uplifting material before bed. At the period's end, they'd report the changes and synchronicities that showed up. He emphasized that discipline is not sterile rigidity. He told the story of Leonard, a violinist with chronic hand pain. In trance, Cayce revealed old resentment toward a father who doubted his career. Healing came when Leonard wrote a forgiveness letter and dedicated a concert to his father's memory. The pain simply vanished. Emotions, Cayce concluded, can lodge in the tissues and travel with us beyond the last breath. They talked about the fast from empty words. For 24 hours, avoiding sarcasm, gossip, or phrases that don't add kindness. Many discovered how automatic speech sets the vibe of the environment. The newly found silence made room for brilliant insights, a fertile void, as he called it. Another key point was reconnecting with the earth, walking barefoot on damp ground, leaning your back against a tree trunk, watching clouds. Now called grounding or forest bathing, this advice lowers cortisol and boosts serotonin. People who adopted the habit reported vivid dreams and unexpected reconciliations. Cayce spent long minutes on the value of lucid dreams. Recognizing your dreaming trains the mind for altered states, a crucial skill for the transition. To induce lucidity, jot down recurring symbols upon waking, and, before sleeping, repeat, "When I see symbol X, I'll remember I'm dreaming." In about 3 weeks, most report their first conscious experience during sleep. He stressed the importance of spontaneous joy. The universe, he said, responds to pure joy's vibration like water to a tossed stone. Waves spread in all directions. He challenged everyone to list 3 acts that sparked childlike laughter: singing in the shower, dancing alone, blowing dandelion seeds. Those little flashes tune the antenna that picks up subtle guidance during and after physical life. To illustrate, he told the story of Helena, a seamstress who danced for 15 minutes before sewing. Once, she felt the urge to buy thread in an unusual color. Hours later, her neighbor needed an urgent fix on a dress of that exact color for a sudden funeral, restoring a long broken bond. Cayce pointed out, lightness opens invisible shortcuts. As the night went on and the scent of lavender lingered, he handed out sealed envelopes to each student to open after 40 days of practice. Inside was a personalized phrase, written in trance. Those who followed the instruction said the message seemed to answer challenges that popped up right then, as if the prophet saw probable futures and planted advice in time. Before saying goodbye, he whispered, "When the wind of change blows, remember the rudder of consciousness is small but steers the ship's course." He asked everyone to practice one anonymous act of kindness before dawn. Leave fresh bread on a lonely neighbor's doorstep. Pick up trash in a forgotten park. Write an encouraging letter to a stranger. Acts with no witnesses create silent waves that reach beyond the veil. If these words spark something in you, choose your own trio of habits now and write them down. If you want to share, the comments are waiting for your real voice. Your story strengthens the invisible web holding this space. And by subscribing, you keep the torch lit that lights all of us, reminding us that growth is a collective task, both seen and unseen. Breathe, feeling your fingers and scalp. Notice a tension flowing through your body in seconds. This mini practice is already a rehearsal for the big crossing. Save it for when your heart races or your mind dives into mazes. And remember, every mindful breath etches another line of light on the map that will guide your steps, here and beyond. The last candle in that secret room flickered softly when Cayce asked everyone to close their eyes for a passing rehearsal. First, he invited them to smell the lavender again. Then, to imagine the exact moment when breathing would become so light it blended with silence. No fear, just the eager curiosity of a child pushing open a door to an unknown room. Soon, the air seemed to thicken, like the wooden walls breathing along, and each participant sensed they were rehearsing their own last step before flying. He then spoke about the compassionate echo, circles that form when a stone drops in water and reach the opposite bank. Every gesture here throws a stone there. If it's kindness, the echo returns harmony. If indifference, a whirlpool demands adjustment. No one stays stuck in rough waves forever. Just change the next stone and the lake learns a new dance. To show this, he described Clarissa, a kind nurse who passed after a long shift in the ER. In the beyond, she saw glowing corridors filled with faces she'd seen for seconds in the clinic. Every smile given during those shifts became a lit lamp pointing the way. He did not shy away from realism when telling the opposite. Margaret, a retired teacher, left carrying resentment toward her children. She found herself surrounded by overlapping old arguments, like broken record players. The noise stopped only when she mentally forgave each word, without expecting anything back. Forgiveness that starts inside travels farther than any prayer asked of another, he explained. Stories like this don't scare, but show that the script is flexible until the last second. Back to everyday days, Cayce suggested a ritual to ease tensions before sleep. Cup your hands, imagine gathering golden light over your head and letting it flow down your shoulders, wrapping every uncomfortable situation from the day. 2 minutes. Those who tried it reported waking with unexpected energy, like an internal gear just got oiled. Modern psychologists call it neural reframing. He'd smile and say, swapping rust for honey. Someone asked how to handle feeling small facing global problems. The prophet replied that the tiniest spark lights a bonfire when it meets dry twigs. A kind thought travels faster than any plane. He said he once saw, in trance, luminous lines connecting strangers by vibrational affinity, a web that supports ordinary heroes. No one acts alone. Even a whisper of support in a market line echoes in unseen continents. He also talked about material wealth. Money, he said, is a current that either carries a boat or sinks everything, depending on the rudder. He suggested setting aside a small part of every gain for those in need. Amount doesn't matter, intent does. This energetic signature follows every coin. When the owner passes on, this signature comes back as credits lighting paths. That way, prosperity becomes a bridge, not a burden. As candles burned low, he handed out slips with one question: where is joy still missing? He asked that the answer be written at home and placed under the pillow for 13 nights. Sleeping on your own honesty calls up revealing dreams that point to subtle tweaks. Weeks later, many spoke of unexpected invitations, reconciliations, and job opportunities, perfectly matching the gap they'd named in the note. Cayce also spoke about the power of sound. Certain frequencies, he claimed, act as bridges between layers of consciousness. Each participant should pick a personal anthem, a melody that instantly sparks tenderness, and sing or play a piece of it daily. This inner soundtrack would reappear during transition as a beacon in the dark night. Music therapy studies now confirm reduced pain and anxiety with repeated, safe-sounding chords, science catching up to the intuitions of a simple man. Finally, he asked for absolute silence for 60 seconds. The tick-tock of a wooden clock sounded like a hammer on stone. Many felt time stretch, revealing a primal stillness beneath everyday noise. This minute is worth more than hours of talk, he murmured, breaking the silence. Because here, you touch the stuff invisible realms are made of. There were moist eyes and smiles that need no words. Here's the core. Soul tests don't punish, they just demand coherence. Those who sow kindness harvest halls full of welcoming faces. Those who cultivate endless criticism find mirror mazes reflecting back their own voice. The choice lives in the pause between one thought and the next. Maybe today you won't change the world, but you can shift your own axis. Drink water slowly, say thank you, looking people in the eyes, turn off your phone while eating. Write down which habit you'll start tomorrow, and if you want to strengthen your decision, share it in the comments. Your words might unlock someone else's path on the same curve. And if this talk sparked something deep, subscribe. Every click keeps this thread of light crossing screens, streets, cities. End the day remembering the crossing doesn't start at the last beat, but the next breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Imagine a thread of light rising up your spine like a silent elevator. As you exhale, picture that glow expanding in a circle, just like the portal formed by thumb and index finger. Do this often, and you'll recognize the path when it shows up unannounced, moving forward with the ease of someone who already holds the password on the other side. Living compassion, joy without pretending, humility that learns. 3 simple keys that can turn any goodbye into the brightest beginning you can imagine.